The Charles Aris podcast. Our firm specializes in finding and placing executives who are qualified, available, and interested in enhancing your organization. We started this podcast to share recruiting trends and insights aimed at helping you make informed hiring decisions. Stay tuned for expert advice, perspectives that will help you navigate the ever-changing marketplace for top executive talent. All right, welcome to the podcast, episode 6, Corp Dev Nation, Chief Development Officer podcast. Josh Kotelnicki, our leader, healthcare, finance, and corp dev search vertical here. We're in for a treat today, folks. December 2024. We're going to chat with TJ Deal, the first and only managing director at our practice, also the founder of our corporate development vertical. Going to give a little bit of a preview as far as what to expect in January with the release of our corp dev offer report. I got you guys texting me, when is it coming out? When is it coming out? So we'll give you a little bit of insight what to expect there, and then also give you kind of our take on what's been done in 2024 and forecasting for 2025. So to start off with, folks, we're in for a treat today. We have TJ Deal. That is not a stage name. That is his actual name. No relation to corporate development or deal activity. TJ is the first managing director of firm's history, 55-year history. He founded the corporate development practice 5 years ago. Today, he oversees the finance and corporate development search vertical. Plus, he's an all-around great guy. Welcome to the podcast, TJ Deal. Thanks for coming on, sir.
Gosh, thank you for having me. Thank you for the intro. I'll admit I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm pumped. Let's do this.
No worries. We'll try next year to have like a crowd noise machine that's not in the budget yet for 2024, maybe in 2025. Give you a round of applause. So TJ, give Corp Dev Nation a little bit of a background in terms of like what you did at Charles Aris prior to founding the Corp Dev practice, kind of what's happened over the last 5 years, and bring us up to speed to today.
Yeah. So I started at Charles Aris as a recruiter. I was basically fresh out of UNC and knew absolutely nothing about anything. I was a political science major, had no idea what I wanted to do. That became dreadfully clear in my first 6 to 12 months here, as anyone who worked with me would attest. It was not an easy first year getting my footing. But around 2017, I was working on a number of different projects, president searches, a lot of work working with our strategy practice where we recruit current and former strategy consultants. And we'd stumbled on a couple of different searches over the years that were corporate development searches. And the idea sort of started to percolate that this was an emerging need, functionally at organizations. And two, that there wasn't really another firm out there that was doing it well. We were hearing that from candidates, right? And so the idea was, if we could build the right team, if we could do this right, that we could build something that would be the industry's leader in this space, right? We could be the #1 corp dev search firm in the world. That was the goal, right, in 2019. And then, was fortunate enough to have a great team to build this out with. So Josh, thanks for being employee #1 in the corporate development practice. And, from 2019 to now, it's basically gone from the two of us and 2 phones and 2 laptops to now, a team of 25. We'll end up working on 125 searches this year, and we're proud to run the industry's largest such M&A practice. And interestingly enough, kind of along that time frame, it started to branch out even past executive search. We had clients coming to us who were saying, "Hey, you've placed our head of M&A. We like the way that you do sourcing. Could you take that same model and go find deals for us?" Right? Work with the head of M&A who you placed to go find add-on deals. And so about 3 years ago, we started a business, a separate business now, Charles Aris Transaction Services. Basically takes our same kind of go-to-market sourcing model that we use for candidates to go and help people we've placed find add-ons, right? So it's been a really interesting transformation over the last 5 years, and we feel like we're just getting started.
You talked about the Charles Aris Transaction Services. Maybe anybody who's not as familiar with our firm, break it down. Here's the industry verticals we spend, 80% of our time in. Maybe talk to people out there that don't work today in one of those industry verticals and explain to them how frequently we get asked to do things that might be outside of our core industry alignment, and maybe give them a little bit of headline in terms of what 2025 is going to bring as far as adding on new practices.
Yeah, so we've got 4 major industries that make up probably 80% of the work that we do. That is healthcare and life sciences, Josh, your practice. It's business services. It is industrial manufacturing and technology, right? Which is a mix of IT services and software. So healthcare, services, manufacturing, and tech as kind of our 4 major verticals, like I said, making up 80%. The other 20% is really just by way of being so deep in this function and doing more of this work than anyone else. It's consumer, it's infrastructure, we're seeing kind of a significantly burgeoning kind of energy renewables, type of emergence with a few media searches sprinkled in here and there, although that's never been a huge lever within the practice. And Josh, to your kind of second question, just in terms of what to expect for 2025, I mean, we've definitely seen a significant return to form this year in terms of M&A, right? Even with last year being probably the slowest, like on paper, the slowest M&A market in a decade, the add-on activity was still enough to where it was still one of the best years in practice history. But this last year will be the best year of 2024, even better than 2022, and we expect that to continue, right? There's been a bit of a gridlock specifically in the middle market in terms of just general deal flow, but we're now seeing that starting to move. Getting into our industries, I mean, probably the most obvious trend of this year is just business services, field services has been on fire. That's our biggest industry vertical, by a significant amount at the firm, and we expect that to continue. It feels like we're starting a new search in that industry every day. It feels like at this point in time, we have seen a really nice return to form in terms of healthcare. We've seen that practice grow in terms of headcount, in terms of searches. And again, we think that between, kind of healthcare services, the provider model, as well as more on the life sciences side, we expect that to continue. And then probably the third is this is more M&A at the private equity fund level. So someone who works for the private equity firm who's charged with basically going out and finding deals, right? This could be platform deals. This could be working with their portfolio companies to go and find add-on deals. That practice has grown like crazy. And so, it was not that long ago that we were doing a search a year in that function. It's gone to a search a quarter. We would not be surprised if that was to search a month to where, it won't be long before that's a 25 search a year, type of practice within our organization. That is a major trend in terms of private equity firms starting to bring that capability kind of in-house. And, we've got a team that's done some really good work on that front.
If you're interested in accessing additional finance and corporate development insights, including industry-leading compensation reports, subscribe to our newsletter at the link in the description. Now back to the show. All right, so next month we're releasing, I believe, our 6th annual year-end corporate development compensation report. Major overhaul last year in terms of how we structured it. We're putting together that data right now. A lot of you guys out there in Corporate Nation have been texting us, hey, where is it? So it's interesting, just it's sentimental to me to see it's become a staple of like things that people look for in the market. But maybe give people a heads up. What can they expect next month when they see it for the first time, as far as what's going to be in there, any insights that you can already see from the data we've collected? Give them a little preview.
Yeah, so the amount of detail and organization has definitely evolved over the years from when, I was building it myself out of Excel to where it is today. And so I'd say a couple of big call outs. For those of you who saw the one last year, we've continued to break things down by industry. That's probably going to be one of the most interesting takeaways from this year. I won't give the spoiler, but there is a drastic difference in terms of pay between some of our different industry verticals. So roles recruiting the exact same type and tenure of talent for the type of business are differing by 20% in certain industries. It's not the industries that you would think. So stay tuned to check out kind of how that shook out this year. We are also going deeper in terms of the sub industries that we are serving, right? As we've expanded as a practice, we no longer have one person who's just doing healthcare corporate development. We have people who are taking even deeper focuses in certain segments of each industry, right? Not just industrials, but machinery within industrials, not just healthcare, but healthcare tech within industrials, not just services, but field services or professional services. So you'll see a little bit more in depth in terms of the different sub-industries that we work on. We've added some categories that our corporate development fan base has requested. You'll see things like severance commented on. You'll see some really interesting trends in terms of remote work and how that's kind of transformed before COVID, during COVID, where we are today in 2024. And you're also going to see for the first time ever, more granularity in terms of company size. Now, for everyone listening, because the majority of the work we do is working with private equity, portfolios, we're staying clear of getting too granular on exact revenue size, but you'll see a general range, right? What we're trying to do is, we feel like the corporate development market has been set in a really positive way and continues to move as the function continues to gain importance. What we're trying to do is gain kind of an extra level of insight in terms of how does it change if you're a sub $100 million company to 100 to 500 million to $1 billion plus. How is it altering if you're working in California versus Toledo, right? And I think you'll be surprised by some of those trends.
So then
Right.
as we look ahead to 2025, so for investment bankers looking to move into corp dev, for managers looking to move into director roles, directors looking to VP want to be chiefs, like advice you would give corp dev professionals as they look ahead into 2025 to position their careers to move up.
Yeah, so there's probably four takeaways from this year as we move into next. So the first is regardless of industry, be ready to talk about your sourcing experience. Right now, especially as the market is starting to harden and M&A is coming back in a really positive way, being able to go out and find deals and show that you can do that is an X factor, regardless of industry, regardless of tenure, right? If you're an up and comer in corp dev, try to get that experience, right? If you're a seasoned corporate development professional, make sure you can talk to it in the interviews, right? The second is, and this is a little bit more tactical, but put together a deal sheet, right? A lot of our private equity clients are looking to that, pointing to that, making that a significant part of the interview. And it feels like the best corporate development candidates we're seeing right now have page one resume, page two deal sheet, right? And also it's just a good way to go back down memory lane. Like you worked on the deals, so you would think you'd be able to remember them, but what we're finding is it's not always that easy to remember that deal you worked on in 2019 that could be relevant to the conversation that you're having, right? Or that deal that for some reason or another the private equity principal has had purview to that they're going to ask you about. The third, and this is for current investment bankers looking to make the move into corporate development. Unfortunately, it's never been harder to make the jump from investment banking to a good corp dev job. And that's because as more and more and more companies have started to build this function out, there's more of a supply of corporate development talent, and our clients are able to go to us and say, hey, I want someone who's been there, done that, who's been in a corp dev seat, right? Who's already left banking, who's served in a corp dev capacity, and it's made it harder for current bankers. My advice is network like crazy, right? The investment bankers that we are seeing getting the best jobs, and this probably doesn't do us any favors as a search provider, but they're the ones who are going to the people that know them and getting connected, right? People who have a better level of sort of depth and insight as to how they are as performers. And they've got that leg up going into the process because of that, right? Not to say we're not calling investment bankers for our searches, we are, but what we're finding is the ones who are jumping into the best jobs are using their connections to get there more so than going through a search process. Because otherwise, it's really, really hard to compete with someone who's done the job in a relevant company for another private equity backed business. The last one is take the calls. Even if you're not looking to leave today, even if you don't see yourself looking to leave in the next 5 years, take the calls, right? It's likely that if you're working in corp dev, we're doing anywhere from 20 to 40 searches a year in your industry vertical, right? And these are searches that aren't getting out to the public. They're run confidentially. They're run with the top private equity sponsors and corporations in the world. Make sure that our industry heads have you on their radar, because when that time comes, if you've already got that relationship, if we already know what you're looking for, it makes that process so much easier, right? And who knows, we might bring something in the interim that lights a spark that you wouldn't even know was there.
Folks, that's TJ Deal, the living legend, as I call him around here, the guy that founded the largest corporate development search vertical in North America. If you want to reach out to TJ Deal on LinkedIn, feel free to hit him up. Otherwise, if you also want to get automatically the Corp Dev compensation report delivered to your inbox, feel free to sign up for the newsletter, which is in the description for this link. Otherwise, year-end show, want to quickly thank our marketing team, Danielle, Meredith, Sydney, Joe, Jessica. They do a fantastic job. They're on this podcast right now. You just can't see them, but they've done a fantastic job. This is wrap up for year one, folks. We're expecting big things out of 2025. We'll have more guests on, more chief development officers, hopefully more fantastic content to help you move your career in the right direction. And thanks so much for listening. Have a great holiday season. Thanks for listening. For more of the Charles Aris podcast, you can subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or head over to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Charles Aris Inc.